Hey, Doreen, how are you?
Good evening, South Africa. Good evening, KZN. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come into your homes, to come into your living rooms, to come into your cars, to come into the buses, wherever you're listening me from. Thank you so much. This is Doreen Nawa from Lusaka, Zambia. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Doreen, let's go to the recent elections that took place in Zambia. We saw the Zambia's main opposition candidate, Hichilema, took the early lead on Saturday in partial result. Till the end for the tight presidential elections, what were the possible
The
reasons?
just ended August 12th election have taught us as Zambians one thing, and that is not to take people for granted. And I think it showed that when people want change, they will really go for it. And was evident. This was evident from the numbers of voters that turned out to vote. Even from the registration, when we're registering voters as a country, there were a lot of youths, a lot of women that turned up. And this will lead me to the first question. The possible reasons why President-elect seemed to have taken a lead, especially on Saturday. It's because people turned out in numbers to cast their vote. And the main reason for them wanting a change, I think mainly it was economical. The things are not mostly affordable to many, especially food. When you find it a problem to just have 3 meals, I think people always blame it on government, blame it on policies. So once there's an opportunity for them to change government, they will definitely rush. And this was evident from the election that we had. We had massive turnout. People came wanting to vote, and as usual the voting usually starts at 6 a.m. and ends at 6 p.m. But for this election, for the first time in history, the people voted from 6 a.m. when the polling stations opened until the others were voting until the following day up to 5 a.m. Some of the polling stations were uh, closing at that time, like 24 hours of voting instead of the usual 12 hours of voting. So mainly the reasons were economical. The standards of living have just gone high. We talk of fuel is expensive, transport, foodstuffs. So people looking at that from that angle, people turned out just to change, thinking things would be better if we put in a new person and a new president.
Hichilema, in his tweet on the 12th of August, he quoted Deuteronomy 16 verse 20. Do you think the opposition was showing his concern about the counting process, as many countries are complaining about the similar situation whereby they say the system is not free and fair?
Yes, as it were, Africa is known not to have a free and fair election. So when you are in that race and with all the history of unfair elections, people tend to be jittery. And I think from the tweet that was posted, I think that was what it meant. It's very difficult in Africa to unseat the government in power. So I think much as he had done so much on the ground, and one can have the faith that you pull through, still more, you will still have that doubt to say, are we going to make it? So I think from the tweet, I could tell that he he was not very certain. Yes, he was, but not very certain of it being a free and fair. That's what I mean. So no wonder the tweet, like he was unsettled. Would this really be a free and fair election, and will I carry the day? Of course, from the numbers of people that came to vote and from the uproar, you could tell that he'll carry the day, but you don't know what the other part has put in place uh, to 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 ensure that them to stay in power. Yeah. So I think the tweet was somewhat, to me, as someone who just read it, some showing concern that I hope this will be free and fair, and the will of the people will prevail at the end of the day.
We see many people celebrating his success. What can you say about the current president of Zambia?
President-elect Hakainde Hichilema is known for his business acumen as an economist. HH, or Bali, as we fondly call him here, is an economist and a known Zambian businessman, a politician who has contested 5 times previously in the election. This was in 2016, 2008, 2011, 2015, and 2016 until now, 2021, when he won uh, the election, the just ended August 12th election, with over 59 percent of votes. His business background could prove pivotal because people seem to have faith and believe that because of his business background, he will manage the economy better as president. Uh, the win marks the redemption for his supporters who have been through and through for 5 times. Elections in Africa and in Zambia are not an easy game. It's a process. You go through a lot, humiliation and the rest. So I think for the team, this is like redemption enough where you can sit back and now look back and say, this far we came, we endured and we held on, and here we are. Hakainde Hichilema is known to have been born in a low income family in the southern part of this country. It's called Southern Province. He has cast himself as a self made businessman who worked hard to go to school and to win government bursary at the University of Zambia, where he did first his economics uh, course, and most of the time he could call himself like, I'm just a cattle boy, because Southern Province is known to be the hub of cattle. It has quite a good number of animals like cows. So it's actually, some people make fun of it, like the number of cattle is more than the population of the people that live there. So our president-elect, born on June 4th, 1962, seemed to be a lover of uh, cattle, and hailing from this part of the country, he seems to be in love with cattle. And most of the time, even during his campaigns, he'll be seen taking photos in the crow, sometimes watching as people milk the cattle as he went around the country to do his campaigns.
Let's compare Lungo with his successor, Chilema. What can you say about the two? What do you think people rejected the president and went for the opposition
I
party?
think it will be too early to compare the two. From my observation, it will be too early because the other one has not yet taken a position, and and they're two different people with two different beliefs, and so it will be quite difficult to compare the two. But I think the Zambian people are optimistic about the new dawn, mainly because of the economic reasons. From my observation, it's mainly economic reasons. You know how multipartyism came into existence in Zambia, or how we changed one party state in 1991. It was all because of foodstuffs that were expensive, and people were struggling to just get food on the table. So the optimism comes because uh, the other one seemed to have an economic background, and people think by us putting or ushering in an economist, maybe things will be better. So the optimism comes because people think maybe the new government and its party have better policies that will make sure that the standards of living, the kwacha against the dollar gets to some acceptable exchange rates and the rest, and the amount that one uses to like purchase fuel and the just the buying power uh, around the basic needs. So people think the new government will easy the living standards of the people.
The outgoing president also raised his concern about the fairness of the election as he reported some violence in other parts of the country. What can you say?
I think President Lungo's concerns on the elections not being free and fair came from the incidences of violence that we experienced and the loss of lives, because earlier on during campaigns, I think it was a week or so or a few days before elections, two people were killed in one of the suburbs here in Lusaka called Kanyama. So two youths that were believed to be from the ruling Patriotic Front then were killed in a fracas, the crash between the main opposition and the ruling party cadres. So I think from that, I think that's how come his complaints came. And also on, I think on the election date, two people again were killed in the northwestern part, the area called Solwezi here in Zambia. So I think from those losses of life, I think he was able to uh, tell and see that the elections went free and fair, because there were some reports that some people were even scared of going out to vote after word went round that someone was murdered and was found lifeless at some, is it service station there in a place called Somwezi here in Zambia. So it was from that background, I think, that he complained that the elections weren't free and fair because of the deaths that the country experienced during those last days to the election and during the voting day.
Do you think COVID-19 also affected or impacted the voting or the turnout of the voters?
I think COVID-19 uh, didn't affect much the voter turnout. What COVID-19 negatively affected were the campaigns. People didn't have the freedom to go out to campaign in various places because of the restrictions. And even when the campaigners went to various places, the receivers of that message weren't ready. I remember witnessing an incident where a certain political party went to do their door-to-door campaigns, and the owners of that house, the people that were supposed to listen to the message, told them bluntly that no, you are the guys that bring COVID to us, so please can you go? And besides, we need social distancing and all those 5 golden rules. So they were literally chasing away people in these various townships, especially the up class ones. They will literally chase you to say, no, I think this is a bad time because of COVID. We aren't ready to listen to your message. But the voter turnout, no, COVID didn't affect voter turnout. People came out in numbers as early as 01 a.m. People were up to go and cast their vote, and this showed how eager people were for a change, because they didn't even bother to look at the 5 golden rules. All they wanted was to cast their vote. And I think this was also one of the observations that the international observer missions took note, that people didn't follow the 5 golden rules on the voting day because all they wanted was just to cast their vote.
Okay, share your analysis about the whole process of elections. What can you say, Doreen?
I think we have enjoyed notable record of peace, especially during elections, despite the few pockets of incidents of violence that we may have. But we are known to be a peaceful country since 1991, and I think it's because Zambians are courtesy. Zambians, they are long suffering, I think. They take time to react to a situation. They don't just pop out there and then they take time to react to a situation. And I think Zambians value life. It's now that you may see campaigns that may end up to 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 maybe having a life lost. But overall, I think Zambians are peaceful. Zambians are long suffering. Zambians love one another. I think it's the love that leads to all this. Even in the president's elect, even President Lungo's address when he was conceding defeat, all he talked about was love one another. Please uh, be ready to work with the president elect like you did with me for the last 6-7 years. So I think it all starts with the leaders recognizing the love and care that we ought to show as citizens to one another. And from that angle, you find that all of a sudden on the streets, people now start talking about loving one another, just like what happened on, was it on the 16th, when the elections, the winner was declared in the early hours, like at 02:35 in the early mornings of August 16th. And I think around 9, the fourth president, Rupia Banda, had a meeting with the outgoing president and the president-elect. They had a meeting where in no time, because of social media, we saw pictures flashing of President Lungo and President-elect Hakainde Hichilema shaking hands after a meeting with with former President Rupia Banda. So it was something that has never been witnessed. So unique, such that just a few hours of heartbreak, that okay, I've lost to this guy, and in no time you meet and you congratulate each other, shake hands, and that was like, wow, that was beautiful, because it showed that we are still united despite us having different views, different beliefs. So yeah, I think what 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 all that shows is the love and the care that the citizenry here in Zambia. The results were unprecedented. The results were historical. Never have been recorded in the history of Zambia's democracy. Zambia has 156 constituencies, and with 155 constituencies that reported the results, the official results, it showed that President-elect Hakainde Hichilema had garnered 2,810,757 against his rival President Lungo, tally of 1,814,201. So the difference was like massive. The difference was close to a million between them. So yeah, the results uh, were unprecedented. We have never seen such a huge voter turnout in the history of this country. And mainly, like I said, the main reason was the deteriorating standards of living, which caused many people to turn out in numbers and cast their vote for what you now call, or what we now call, the new dawn. So people are expectant of what the new office will bring on the table to better the standards of living.
Thank you, Doreen, for taking us through the elections. Your final word.
Hey, leadership. Thank you so much, Ngawonga. Thank you to the listeners for listening to me. Thank you. I salute you for opting on me this far, miles away, and yet we can communicate. So thank you so much, leadership. Thank you.